This is Strange New Trek, a podcast about the life and times of Captain Christopher Pike. And now, your hosts. Last episode, our crew went MIA after upsetting Starfleet's Secret Intelligence Agency, Section 31. This week, though, they're going to run right to an Admiral and then into the Lion's Den. And hey, you guys remember that cyborg crew member that we hardly ever talk about? Well, we're going to learn a whole lot about her this week. I'm your host, Jeremy Vilmur, and joining me over here is my number one dog, Commander Dog, and our chief engineer, Chris Noonien-Singh, as we discuss Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 9, Project Daedalus. What's happening, Chris?
Hey, I'm good.
Oh, fantastic. I always laugh when anything is named after Daedalus. We're talking about a madman that made his son fly with wax wings here, you know?
Yeah, wasn't that Icarus's dad?
Yep, that's exactly who it was.
Yeah, the Navy has named some things after that too, without I'm sure knowing the backstory of it. His name is used all the time, and I'm always just stunned when it's used. You know? Yeah, because I think the reason why his name gets used a lot is because they're looking at him as a good father. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, "Hey, son, don't fly too close to the sun," but they fail to realize this guy is the one who sent that fool up in the first place.
Yep. He's the guy who was like, hey, check these out, guys. Come here, watch my son fly. Yeah.
That's just like telling Maverick from Top Gun not to put on afterburners. Like, obviously, he's going to do that.
Well, as soon as you said it, you knew it was going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So this week, we are kicking along with the main story now as we get into the Section 31 stuff. We ended with the crew of the Discovery at Talos 4 having to go fly off because Section 31 was coming for their buns. So this week's episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes, also known as William T. Riker.
Is it Tiberius Riker?
I believe it is, yes. I believe that's exactly what it is. So a shuttlecraft lands on the hangar of the USS Discovery, and out gets Admiral Katrina Cornwell, who tells Pike and Saru that she doesn't think her shuttle was traced. Now, Chris, when I see Admiral Cornwell in light of the new series, Strange New Worlds, you know what I think?
What's that?
I think between number one, Captain Battelle, and Admiral Cornwell, Starfleet's got a type.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. Tall brunettes, it would seem, yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with it. I'm just pointing it out, you know.
It's Thomas. It's William Thomas Riker.
Well, because
I got it. No, I got it.
Yeah. No, you remember the episode where they found the transporter clone of him?
Yeah.
He took the name Thomas because that was the middle name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Yeah, it just came to me while you were talking. My bad.
No. Hey, you know what? I would have assumed it was Tiberius the whole time. You know. All right. So she starts off questioning Spock and asks about his rank, position, and assignment. To which he responds that his rank is lieutenant, and he's a science officer aboard the USS Enterprise. She then asks if he killed the people back at the psychiatric hospital in self-defense, and he said no. And then she asked why he did kill him, and then he says, well, you know, I've been pretty clear that I haven't killed anybody.
Yeah.
Glancing at the readout, the cerebral monitor reads non-deceptive. Spock is telling the truth. The idea of a cerebral monitor, that has like a very TOS feel to it. When they would just like create a piece of technology that just did whatever you needed it to in the situation.
Yeah, which felt out of place actually in Discovery, because Discovery has not, well, maybe they have been, but like it's way less noticeable than when TOS did it.
Yeah. Where it was just, you know, TOS had whatever the plot needed, they came up with, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, walking down the corridors of the ship, Burnham protests to Pike that Tyler is innocent because, they still think that he was selling them out to Section 31, and that he would not sabotage the spore drive, and that he was loyal to Starfleet. Because, all your deep cover Klingon agents are loyal to Starfleet.
Yeah, when they have to be recruited by the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally trustworthy.
Yep, absolutely.
From an enemy, basically an enemy country here.
Yep. Dune has one of my favorite lines when Baron Harkonnen says something about never trust a traitor, even if you created them. Yep. I always thought that was a great line, When Pike asks if he can count on her, Burnham replies that he can, and that he can also count on her proving Tyler innocent. Yep, I don't think you're too close to this situation at all, Michael.
She's too close to all of this.
Yeah. When Spock was talking about, what he did do to escape, he just says, hey, I gave everybody the Vulcan nerve pinch, which disables people without, causing harm or killing them. And then we move on to her asking, the Admiral asking him about the Red Angel. She asks why it chose Spock to receive his visions. Spock says he doesn't know, and he's asked himself a number of times. They kind of go back and forth about a few things. The fact that Burnham is defending Spock comes up, and Cornwell, says, well, she is your sister. And Spock's real quick to point out, yeah, well, not by blood.
Man, he just keeps thrusting that knife, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a little uncomfortable with this whole situation, it would appear. He's not gotten over his childhood anger, I would think. Cornwell goes back over the results of her questioning with the senior staff. It appears that Spock and pretty much everybody else thinks he's telling the truth. Saru questions the Admiral's doubt, asking, whether or not the test is accurate. And Cornwell says that it is. It's 100% accurate.
Just like using SQL databases. Mm-hmm. No, I get it. Yep. We're still... Well, to be fair, it's not necessarily like that because this is cerebral mapping. So it's a little bit different than just a standard lie detector test.
So then she shows the footage, which basically matches or does not match what Michael Burnham has seen, which was the version that was actually in Spock's mind. And here, he goes a little batty on everybody and starts phaser blasting folks. Pike's pretty convinced that this is not what's happened and that this footage has to have been doctored. And Cornwell replies that it came straight from Starfleet Psychiatric.
Yeah, man. It provides a really crazy juxtaposition because if you recall in the menagerie, everybody was saying the same thing, but he did it. And in this one, everybody is taking his side, but he didn't do it. So, watching this play out and then watching the menagerie, it's so weird, man.
it can't be him.
Yeah. And I mean, even in the menagerie, Bones was I really hate that guy, but it's definitely not him.
Yeah.
This is not something he would do. But here, everybody's saying that, and he definitely didn't do it. So
yeah, it's really kind of interesting. You're right. I don't tend to think of it like that, except last week when we were talking about it, this came up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the video footage came straight from Starfleet Psychiatric.
You know what? I think we in real life are gonna start having issues with this because of how good video editing has become.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it used to be you needed a hell of a lot of power and know-how to do something that would even come close to being believable. And even then, it wasn't that believable. But now, with the technology that's similar to that face swap stuff, mm-hmm. It's gotten way better. So I can make a video that looks like Tom Cruise is talking against the Church of Scientology. Yeah, dog agrees with me. Thanks, Commander.
Does, yeah.
Appreciate you.
Well, as you look at that, there's all this new. I mean, it's new to us as consumers. All this new AI software that's not even out on the market. I guess it's just free on websites unless you want to like help pay for server space. But basically, you type something in and it produces almost photographic image of whatever you just described.
Oh yeah, actually, two of those services are, one of them is a Midjourney and the other one's Novel AI, and both of them work very similarly. I messed around with Midjourney for a little bit, and it's pretty good. Like I didn't try to make people, real people, like in compromising situations, but just the fact that I can put in a prompt and the computer will spit out something pretty much exactly the way I wanted it. It's crazy to me. And even if what you put in doesn't come out exactly like you want it, it's real easy to look at the image and see, okay, here's the downside of it. Let me go ahead and edit my prompt to
fill that gap in, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Fill that gap in where the computer is getting it a little wrong. But yeah, Midjourney and Novel AI, two super powerful tools. I don't know about Novel AI because I haven't messed around with that, but Midjourney, you get like the first 10 prompts for free. So you can join their Discord, type in a little prompt, and then within like 30 seconds, it'll pump out like 4 relatively different pictures for you to choose from based on your prompt. And you get like 10 of those, I think 5 or 10. I don't recall. I only did it once, but it's crazy.
So I did a book cover months ago with one that was Frankenstein meets Bigfoot was the idea behind it. But of course,
is that Boris Karloff's Frankenstein?
Yeah. It's very traditional, very traditional Frankenstein.
Gotcha.
But of course, the foal, after my Facebook friends and I get done discussing it, it becomes Bigfoot versus Frankenstein and erotic adventure. So it's going to be a very different.
I bet you could put that into Midjourney and it would pop out something for you that you might be usable.
You know what cracked me up is I said into one of them, I just basically said Doctor Who and his sexy companion. I was thinking it was going to kick out like Capaldi and Jenna Coleman.
Oh no, it's going to pump out Christopher
Eccleston
and Rose 100%.
Okay, so what it actually put out was a very, very old man that was dressed kind of like the first Doctor and a topless woman.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I thought it was not going to do anything like that. Yeah. Oh, but where I was headed with that is there's already stuff that you can record voice samples, and it will put together sentences with your voice.
Oh yeah, I remember listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he may I haven't listened to it since he went exclusively Spotify, but I remember him talking about, dude, I've put like hundreds and hundreds of hours of my voice out here, and people could pretty much at this point do whatever they want, make me say whatever, and no one would be the wiser, pretty much. And he's right.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah, if you train an AI to listen to nothing but Joe Rogan's podcast and you wanted Joe Rogan to say some off-the-wall stuff, I mean, for a second, you might be like, okay, I could see Joe saying that. But then on the other hand, you're like, I don't know.
Because, I mean, Joe Rogan says some weird stuff, but
he does, especially during COVID. Yeah. He has had some weird things to say about it, but just in general, like, that's one thing he's been afraid of. At least, maybe not like he loses sleep over it at night, but he's definitely talked about it a bunch.
I mean, because look at you and I. There's thousands of hours of us talking about different topics out there.
There's already at least 100 of us just talking about Star Trek.
Yeah. So if you just take our entire podcasting, quote unquote, careers, as it were, over the last, I think we've both been doing this 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of crazy words you could put in our mouths now. I'm just based off of that. And then you throw the ability just to tell, I mean, right now it's still images, but we go from still images to animation really quick these days.
Oh yeah. And it's out there, but you got to have a little know-how to make it happen. Yep. But it is out there.
For now.
Yeah. Like you don't need to be expert level to do it. You just need to be aware, you need to be decent at it.
Yeah.
And can do that.
But I mean, as technology advances, let's go 300 years in the future to the time of discovery.
Yeah, and we're still using SQL databases.
Well, easiest way to pick a lock, I guess, right? So we've got the source of the video footage was Starfleet Psychiatric, but it still seems a little sus, as the kids might say. When the red burst first appeared, Admiral Patar began lobbying Starfleet Command to turn his decision-making process over to Control. Cornwell's explaining that Control is maintained within Section 31's forward operating base, and they need to go there and arrest Admiral Patar and reset the system to accept their input. So Patar is the one out of all the admirals we've been seeing lately. He's the one that's been named out of the Andorian and the Tellarite and that group. And apparently it appears that he's the one who's putting together a situation to make Spock look guilty and have Section 31 pull him off the map for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm still a little hazy on what the overall goal was here, except there's something in Spock's brain they want access to.
Well, if you recall from the last episode, they pretty much want his memories of the future.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hadn't even thought it out that far. Yeah, it's because he mind melded with the Red Angel and got all those visions into the future mixed up with the past and all that.
Well, even if he had not mind melded with the Red Angel, he still has, like, I don't think that was, those two things go together.
Oh,
they kind of do, but kind of not.
Oh, I thought one caused the other. Okay.
So, yes and no, I think.
They were talking about Spock having the Vulcan version of dyslexia, and I wonder if that and the mind meld and whatever stuff they were throwing in there might be what's at fault here.
No, and that could be right. Maybe I'm just combining a few things, but it didn't seem like to me that those two things were, I'm not saying they weren't connected, but because they obviously are, but I don't think one had to happen for the other one to happen, I think. Now that you shoot that down, I'm kind of thinking that's not right, but who knows?
Well, we're both looking at this through whatever our personal point of view is too. So, all right. So let's see. Everybody here goes up onto the bridge. Cornwell goes with Pike and Saru. Tilly, of course, starts to stammer as soon as she sees her because, Tilly's charmingly befuddled by everything. Confirms that she traced the transmissions Tyler sent, but its location doesn't make any sense because it would be nothing but empty space over there. Well, that and a penal colony that was abandoned over 100 years ago. According to Cornwell, the colony is not abandoned. It is, in fact, Section 31's headquarters.
Oh, no.
Yep. Believe it or not. When asked about Tyler's whereabouts, Pike informs the Admiral that he is confined to quarters and instructs Tilly to decrypt his transmissions before ordering Detmer to set a course for the Section 31 headquarters. Now, I have to imagine that being confined to quarters is probably different than, like telling your kid to go to their room when they've got PlayStation and all the stuff they could want there. But it seems to me like not by much.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we kind of talked about this, I think, in the last episode when we were talking about Ash. Given that most of the people we see on Star Trek are officers, I imagine they're just putting them in their quarters and stationing some security outside the door, and that's about the extent of the jail time they have. Yeah. At least while they're on the ship.
Well, yeah, because, no matter what, you're still just stuck on a ship. It's not like you can get out and spring yourself and run away.
Yeah, but if you really wanted to, you could really mess up some things if you knew. If you knew a little bit about the ship and had a little bit of know-how, you could really mess something up.
Yeah, well, I guess that's very true. All right, now we cut over to Ariam in her quarters, going over her memory files.
Act 1.
Act 1, yes. She's reviewing some memories of her and her husband before she received her cybernetic alterations. And then she starts going through memories aboard the ship. What it is basically she's got memory space for, about a week's worth of thoughts or a week's worth of history. And
I don't know. I don't know what their limit is.
Yeah. But basically, she has to delete stray moments or unimportant or things she sees as unimportant because there's just not enough room for everything.
You would think by this time in human history, we'd have solved the space limitations.
Well, yeah. I guess we have to write it from now, but you look at just our thumb drives and how much room they have now,
Yeah, plus they're obviously writing this to an SQL drive, so our SQL database, so I guess can only hold so much.
Well, this is true. Maybe we lost a lot of technology after World War III,
I mean, it could be. Yeah.
Maybe
that's fair.
Yeah, maybe we lost a lot of tech right there. So she's going through deleting her memories. Tilly kind of comes bebopping in, telling her she needs to make sure she saves all of her memories with her and Tilly together. Ariam cracks a joke that those are the first ones she deletes. Tilly, of course, starts poking around other people's personal property and notices a little vial with sand next to a picture, and realizes it's sand from the beach from when Ariam and her husband pre-accident walked across that beach together. The day she has in her memory is the last day her and her husband were together before a terrible shuttle accident that I believe killed him and then completely injured her. Now, one of my things with this character is I had no reason to believe before that Star Trek had this kind of cybernetic technology. Besides Geordi's eyeglasses thing,
Yeah.
So I always kind of looked at that character kind of askew, but to be fair, that character doesn't appear to be out of what is a possibility for our future. I mean, it doesn't even look to be outside the possibility for, 100 years from now, quite honestly.
Well, let's take this in the context of the series, especially Discovery. So we know at the end of this season, a lot of things are going to happen with the war, like a Day of the Doctor type event, and it's just going to get squashed. Same with the Spore Drive. Once Discovery leaves this timeline, the Spore Drive is no longer used again. So I'm gonna say here that once this thing with Ariam happens, they do not do that anymore. They don't enhance a person that much anymore because of this exact thing. So I don't necessarily have a problem with them treating Ariam like they do here and then us never seeing that kind of thing again. It kind of makes sense to me when you put it in the context with Discovery.
Yeah, because part of me, having Pike walking around that bridge with Ariam there kind of went well, wouldn't that solve his whole wheelchair problem? But I can see what you're saying. We'll just kind of, push that under the rug and we won't reference her again.
Well, I mean, it's we see parallels to this in real life where a technology kind of, maybe not officially we see this, but we see a technology get a little out of hand and then we don't produce them anymore. We do have a massive stockpile of nuclear weapons right now, but we have not made a new one in many, many years.
Yeah. Hopefully it stays that way.
Hopefully we can get rid of them all, but that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
So I kind of look at her like that. Yeah, she was kind of advanced for the time. This thing with control happen. And so, again, going back to Battlestar, I will have no network things on my ship. It could be a similar thing. I will have no cybernetic enhanced humans on my ship again.
No, that would make total sense. I mean, it's kind of racist, but I certainly see it. It's no more problematic than saying, genetically engineered or selectively bred people are going to prison in the Federation.
Well, I mean, yeah, since you brought it up, it's kind of like what's going on with Una in season 1, at the end of season 1 of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
She is a genetically modified human, and the Federation does not take too kindly to that, and I think this might be one of the reasons why.
Well, that would certainly make sense.
Granted, Ariam is not genetically modified. Well, I mean, maybe she is, but she is biologically modified for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Cybernetically at the very minimum.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's the word. Cybernetically modified. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Tilly then tells Ariam that she needs help trying to decrypt Tyler's messages. And so Ariam's like, well, I guess my memories aren't going anywhere, so I'll be happy to give you a hand. So now we go down to engineering. Stamets is examining his spore drive, wondering what could have gone wrong, and comments on Burnham and Spock's silence, because he doesn't like to listen to himself talk when he has an audience. Now, I certainly understand that, because I will mutter things out loud to kind of work my way through a problem. And I'll do this at work sometimes, and I'll have to turn and look at the person on the desk next to me look, I just need to say it. That way I can understand where I'm headed with the thought.
No, I'm the same way, for sure. Yeah. I understand. I really felt like Stamets needed Jet Reno in this moment.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, Jet Reno, I think, only has to show up once every 6 weeks to keep her job, And did you see, I don't know if you've seen this yet, because it's been out for a few weeks, that Carol Kane has been cast as the engineer on Strange New Worlds. But I'm wondering, is our chief engineer on Strange New Worlds now going to be a part-timer on Discovery? So I was just wondering with somebody with that large a acting profile, if that was somebody who was going to just kind of be there occasionally,
Yeah.
Even though I was almost expecting to see the same actor that played Hemmer come back as a different Anar. Maybe they were born as triplets or something, But yes, Jet Reno would have been great here, because he at least would have had somebody to play off of, because they actually, their chemistry when the two of them are going at something is great.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like watching him and Tilly go back and forth, but Tilly doesn't necessarily always have the know-how as to what the problem is. Mm-hmm. So I think Jet Reno provides that, let me bounce these ideas off you, and you can actually give me something that I may be able to use. Not to say Tilly's a dumbass, she's not, but Jet Reno has definitely a little bit better understanding of at least the engineering part of a starship.
No, I will definitely give you that. And Jet Reno's more acerbic and witty with her lines, whereas Tilly is, again, charmingly befuddled with hers, All right, so Burnham turns back to her display, reviewing with Spock the appearances of the Red Angel and the signals. I believe it was Stamets who then questions whether the Angel was using the signals or were the signals using the Angel. Burnham believes that Spock's vision must have some clue of what it wants. Spock replies that he believes it meant to warn them and nothing else. And then he uses a phrase, and I didn't even remember the context. I just thought it was funny that it's a Vulcan phrase that means you are tending a plant that is already dead. When asked if he had a better suggestion, Spock heatedly replies that his priority is to understand why, of all sentient beings, the Angel chose to communicate with him, to which Burnham asks if he believes it wants something from him personally.
Yeah, it might be your adopted sister.
Mm-hmm,
that could be why.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just a guess. But I think you're going to find out that they're related in some way.
In some manner of relation, yes. The Angel showed Spock an apocalyptic future, but he's unable to logically reconcile how he is to prevent the future from happening. That's because you're missing part of the thing still there, Spock. Burnham has the thought occur to her the purpose of logic was to problem solve in an uncertain environment, so perhaps some inspiration was required. Stamets speaks up and asks if they might find that inspiration elsewhere, because their loud thinking was distracting him. Back on the bridge, Ariam comments to Tilly that she could see how her decryption work was difficult as the key encryptions were changing. As she works, however, 3 blinking lights from the probe flash in her eyes, causing her not to respond to Tilly's teasing about it being pretty smart. Cornwell and Pike start going back and forth about things from the Klingon War and Federation values, and she keeps trying to talk about justification of some of the shortcuts and expediencies that they've taken, and Pike just kind of gets more and more outraged, and he talks about how giving up your values in the name of security was to lose the battle in advance. And then he just flat out asks her if the Admiral sidelined the Enterprise because they knew he wouldn't go along with some of the shortcuts they took. And her response is they basically sent the Enterprise out because they wanted the best of Starfleet to survive. That way, if something happened and the world was lost, at least Pike would still be out there with the Enterprise.
I don't think that that's true.
When I caught it in the show, I thought, oh, that's really admirable. And now that I'm reading the way I put this down, I'm thinking they sidelined him. They got him out of the way.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think it's because he wouldn't go along with some of the things that they were doing. I think he absolutely would, because Pike we have seen him over and over again bend the rules a little bit, at least.
Mm-hmm. No, well, we've definitely seen him bend the rules.
So he's not like necessarily the Boy Scout that his record might portray him to be. Now, granted, I'm not saying that he bends it in a way that it's kind of taking advantage of things, or bending it in such a way that it benefits him more than anything else. But he knows when he can break a rule and when he can't, I feel like.
Yeah, I kind of see it the way you do, whereas I see that he'll break rules. I don't know that he will just out and out fly in the face of values that he holds. In a couple episodes further down the line, we kind of see that.
But no, I'm not saying that he would be completely different or anything. I'm just saying, like, if he had to do certain things to get the mission done, I believe that he would at least weigh his options and maybe pick the thing that helps him get his mission done over rules and regulations. I think I'm trying to say here.
Okay, I would agree with you 100%. I would agree with you. I think we kind of see that in episodes of Strange New Worlds.
Because granted, like,
yeah,
we don't see a whole lot of the actual Klingon War, so maybe I can't say, like, Starfleet did a lot of things that they were not very proud of, but given the things that we do know and have seen, I think Pike would have been okay in there. So this comment just seems really weird that he would... Well, I mean, I guess not from his perspective, because I bet it did feel like he was getting sidelined, but I don't think it's because... Actually, I don't even think it's because of the reason that she said. Not to say that, again, the Enterprise and Co. are not some of the best Starfleet has to offer, but even that, I don't know. I don't actually know how to take that, because it seems like she's just kind of playing lip service to his ego here and not necessarily speaking the truth. But on the other hand, I mean, we know Pike and Co. are really good at their job, so I don't know. Maybe she's not, but I don't know. It just felt disingenuous when she said that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's, like I said, now that I'm kind of reading it back from notes, I feel that way about it as well. Whereas when I saw it in the show, I took it as the way we assume it was meant to be. But now that I'm reading about it, I kind of see it as being like here's a little flattery. Now shut up.
Yeah. And that's the way I took it for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we cut from there to Burnham and Tilly's quarters. Spock comments that unlike Tilly, whose side of the room was littered with mementos and knickknacks, Burnham has no individual expression whatsoever, calling it an accomplishment to be uniquely mundane. Burnham replies that she prefers to express herself through her work and not her choice of decor, as she whips out a three-dimensional chessboard. Spock is incredulous. He's attempting to ascertain why the Red Angel chose him to expose a threat to the entire galaxy, and Burnham's solution is to play chess. Spock considers it arrogant for Burnham to assert that his present manner of thinking needed fixing at all. Burnham jabs back, saying it was arrogant for him to assert that it didn't. Ariam reviews files from the Sphere's database in the science lab when Security Chief Non enters, saying that Tilly had been looking for her and asking what she was doing. Ariam replies that she is looking for something to aid in the decryption, as even with all the benefits of her augmentation, it did not have infinite storage capacity. Ariam then asks about non-species, the Barzan, and their cybernetics that allowed them to breathe Earth-equivalent atmosphere on board most Federation ships. And then Non's kind of like, so why do you want to know that? Because if anybody asked me about, like, hey, so how hard would it be to get you to, suffocate in normal air conditions? I'd be like, why don't you stay on that side of the room?
No, it's impossible. You can't do it.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Can't be done.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Returning to her work, the lights flash in Ariam's eyes again, and she abruptly returns to the bridge. Tilly runs over to her and says that whatever Ariam has done to start cracking the code before is no longer working, as it appears the system knew what they were trying to crack in it, and it began to change its tactics, which is impossible because it's an automated system, not an AI. See, they went too far beyond the SQL injections, and now it's gotten smart on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, given the way that they describe Control, it is 100% an AI, and I'm not exactly sure how they could say otherwise.
I don't know if everybody's aware of that yet, though. I can't remember.
Yeah, I feel like Leland kind of explains a bit about Control. Either he has already or we haven't seen it yet. I'm thinking we haven't seen it yet, but he does get into how it all works with helping them basically do their job. So maybe you're right. Maybe people don't know about it yet.
I think we're a little early in the process there, yeah. So Aram asks Tilly to stand with her and not to move until they solve this mystery. Tilly's confused, but goes along with it. Pike orders a channel to be opened to tell Section 31 that Starfleet's most wanted had arrived, just as OO's scanners show all of the mines around the base are armed. And this thing is it's in a sea of mines. There's a base, and it is just swamped with mines all around it.
Oh yeah, it's like the way you would think in World War II, some islands were similarly mined. It's very hard. It's going to be very hard to get through that.
Yeah. Getting to it or off of it is just really not a great prospect, They get no response. Cornwall suspects that they are busy planning the welcome party. Pike offers the Admiral the center seat as they approach, and she declines, saying, "It's my mission, but your ship." And Pike gives the orders to lower the shields and bring them closer to the field. Back at the chess game, Burnham plays Spock, and it's asking if there's a logical reason to sacrifice his rook. Spock replies that perhaps he simply dislikes rooks, which might be the funniest line from the episode. I'm not sure,
No, for sure.
Yeah. Burnham says that perhaps he's simply trying to lose, which Spock considers an odd supposition, as he is a willing participant in the game. Burnham comments that Sarek would be disappointed at his lack of effort. I disappoint him, he disappoints me. The sun sets, a new day begins, Spock replies.
It could feel like playing Monopoly with your friends or family. Sure, we all wanted to play this game, but an hour into it, it's okay, I'm sick of this now. That could very well be, because I know that, that can wear on pretty quickly, and I have to assume that playing against Vulcans is especially irritating, Well, I assume that playing against a human is irritating because I would imagine that humans are way more unpredictable than Vulcans are.
No, probably. Have you ever played poker against somebody who doesn't play?
It can be difficult.
Oh, it's a pain.
Sometimes.
They bet things that you shouldn't bet, and you end up trying to play play how you're taught or how you've learned to play over time, and you drop a hand and find out they got a pair of threes. Stuff like that. Yeah,
now granted, playing like that will work for you in the short term, but it will not work for you in the long term playing against people who actually know how to play.
No, well, because, you fourth hand and people are starting to pick apart what you're doing. But, by then, now they know, now they are poker players by that fifth or sixth hand. Before they were just betting, Yeah, I mean, plus, you might win a couple just from dumb luck, but, you're not going to win a whole tournament acting like that. So I think that may be what's going on here. Spock's ugh, you're not playing within the rules of engagement that I already know. Yeah.
Ugh.
Burnham notes the next step in the game would be for his knight to take her pawn. Spock again makes a move she considers erratic, finally leading her to ask what he's doing, as she's only trying to help him. Spock reminds her that they have not seen each other in years, and she has no foundation to judge his character. He calls her self-important and tells her that she takes responsibility for things beyond her control, and mocks her guilt over the war with the Klingons and the death of their parents, because children should know when a warfaring race would attack, and goes on to mock her, saying that perhaps a child fighting a Klingon would have made a difference. When Burnham fails to see the point he's making, Spock is blunt. Burnham avoids reality because it's easier to shoulder a burden than it is to face grief. And, that's kind of true.
She does do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, even in the later seasons, she continues to be like that.
Yeah. So I watched season 3 and I don't think I've watched part of 4. So I haven't seen a lot of what happens after this point besides that first season.
Yeah.
But they, what they do? Her character is fairly consistent.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. She's clearly disheartened, hoping that she and Spock would have a new start. And then he smashes the chess table in rage before leaving and shaking Burnham in her quarters. I dislike these shows that try to show Spock as some rage monster all the time. They've done it with the J.J. Abrams movies, and they kind of do it here and there with him in this.
Yeah. Well, again, with this stuff, I could take it as Spock's a bit younger.
Yeah, no. There's definitely reasons that you could fold it in there.
And as far as the Kelvin universe comes, a lot of things were different.
Yeah.
Because of Nero coming back in time. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the way he acts in the Kelvin universe versus here. But I really think a lot of his issues in this season of Discovery and then even in Strange New Worlds is because he's a younger Spock, man. He's not as old and seasoned. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seasoned as the Spock we know and love from TOS.
Yeah, and his brain is stirred, so I guess you got to cut him a little slack, right?
Yeah, he just came off of being stuck in an infinite loop of time where he experienced all of it at the same time. So I think we can cut him a little slack here.
Yeah. I guess we'll back off him a tiny bit there. And just then, Pike's voice comes over the intercom, calling her to the bridge. She gives a pained chuckle as she reports she's on the way. On the bridge, Pike orders a yellow alert and tells Detmer to take him in. Burnham is surprised that her first view of Section 31 headquarters with the most defensive weapons she's ever seen deployed. Pike then asks Tilly if she's decrypted the message yet, to which she reports that she and Ariam are working as fast as they could. Reese then reports a problem, blade mines which could slice through the hull like cheese. Saru adds that someone seems to be guiding them directly at the Discovery, something Cornwell remarks should not be possible. Detmer is unable to shake the blade mines, as it seems whoever is controlling them is anticipating Discovery's moves. Pike orders her to switch to an evasive pattern, Gamma 4. As they continue to traverse the field, Detmer reports to her confusion that the sensors show the ship to be upside down. Now, how does that make sense? There is no up and down in space.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, because, I guess an individual ship could have an up and down, but you wouldn't have a universal up and down.
No, not in space.
Yeah. Because, really, you're under microgravity the whole time. There is no down.
Well, it doesn't matter about the gravity at all. There's no down, up, left, and right in space anyway, unless you're talking about relative to yourself.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You would think that the computer would know that, but maybe not. They're still using SQL databases, so maybe the database got corrupted. I am never not going to talk crap about that.
No, we'll have to delve into Star Trek SQL injections at some point. The ship appears to be upside down, but apparently they have what are called blackout mines, which confuse the navigational sensors.
Oh, okay.
The helm does not appear to be responding, but Cornwell adamantly insists that it is, and that Detmer is flying blind, like at Starfleet Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce reports that no response from Starfleet. Detmer is desperate, saying that she's trying her best, which Pike says it was not good enough, and it's not a game. Pike tells Detmer to trust her training and calls on the crew to give random evasive patterns. The crew reports only 5 injuries, and all of them were in engineering. Detmer's damage report shows that the warp drive and impulse drive are offline, as if they were specifically targeted.
Where's Ortegas when you need her?
Yeah, she's probably off piloting a ship better than this right now.
Detmer is pretty good, but
yeah.
I feel like Ortegas could have introduced enough randomness.
Yeah, look, Detmer's good. Ortegas is better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Bryce then reports that they're being hailed by Admiral Patar of Section 31. Pike calls down the red alert and orders the channel opened. Cornwell is indignant at Pitar attacking a Federation starship, but Pitar counters that the Discovery is a fugitive vessel harboring fugitive officers, and she was deemed too dangerous to be allowed to approach Section 31 headquarters. Pike believes Starfleet would have something to say about that, but Bryce reports no contact with Starfleet because, Pitar explains, the order to attack Discovery came from Starfleet Command. Pike indignantly tells Pitar that if Starfleet ordered an attack, they could tell him personally. Pitar warns him not to escalate the situation further and that a Section 31 vessel was en route to board them. When asked why, Pitar smugly replies that the Starfleet regulations were extremely specific on the definition of treason, and Pike and the Discovery and Cornwall all applied. Pitar says he believed Cornwall, I keep calling her Cornwall, it's Cornwell, had noble intentions by going to Discovery, but by abandoning her duties to conduct the secret mission with the fugitives, she became a fugitive herself. As a result, Pitar coldly informs her she no longer had the authority to choose her own fate, and then closes the channel. Everybody kind of looks around. Pike's like, hey, I'm not changing my mind. Scan for further weapons on the base, and call down to engineering to restore our spore drive. In engineering, Stamets continues to fruitlessly search for the cause of the spore drive failure, asking a power conduit out loud not to shock him. Working nearby, Spock wonders if Stamets realizes inanimate infrastructure couldn't hear him. As he examines the conduit, it shorts out, causing the power inside the engine room to fail. Stamets suggests that if Spock wants to save the galaxy, he can start by helping Stamets restore power before Section 31 arrives to arrest them.
You know, I am not a person who is taken by things like this, but given all my years in maintenance, there is something to talking to inanimate objects to get them to do what you need them to do.
You know, I remember a couple times when I was working as a construction plumber, and you're doing like a gas line or something, and you could tell something just didn't feel right about when you turned last joint or something, you know, and you're just like, don't leak, don't you, oh, gosh darn it. I'd end up muttering at gas lines, especially because those are the ones that can actually damage something, you know?
Yeah, man, I had a lawnmower that would only start if you talk mess at it.
Really?
Yeah. If I talk nice to it, nothing. But as soon as I started running my mouth at it, start right up every time. So I'm sorry, Spock. There is something to that.
Well, there you go.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what mechanism it could be. But there is something to talking to inanimate objects, getting them to do what you want them to do sometimes.
Yeah, well, there you go. And you get that coming from a maintenance expert, people.
I don't know about that, but...
As they work, Stamets asks if Burnham's idea helped figure out why the Red Angel chose Spock. Spock admits that he still did not know, considering himself an illogical choice, despite all of the angles he had explored. He encourages Spock to keep trying, and he'd eventually figure it out. Just then, Spock repairs the conduit and restores power and engineering. Stamets comments that he wished the spore drive was that easy. He believes the problem with the drive is the navigator himself, which he sarcastically dismisses as being unimportant, as all he does is contain the map to the entire mycelial network. Spock points out that Stamets has traveled in the network hundreds of times and would know how to travel between 2 points without assistance.
Yeah, clearly Spock has never seen humans and a lack of GPS.
You know what? I used to be really good at just driving by instinct. Like I had a sense of where something was, so I could kind of find my way there. Not for the last 15 years, though.
I have never been good at it. Yo, I've lived in my town mainly my whole life. Mm-hmm. I did not know until I started working there that my shipyard was in my town. Because I only used to go places I knew how to get there and how to get home.
Sure.
I rarely ever ventured outside of that circle.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was, from 2000 to almost 2010, me and my family lived about 150 miles from my hometown. And the first winter we were there, we didn't know where anything was. It was a town called Santa Cruz, where they filmed The Lost Boys. We didn't know where anything was. And I remember one day we all piled into the car, us and our 2 kids, and we all got in the car and they're like, all right, where are we going? I said, okay, we're going to find the mall. They go, where is it? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to drive until we find it.
I know where we're going as soon as we find the mall.
Yep. And then, I just kind of took a couple roads, kind of felt like I knew which area of town it was in and just kept driving like we were going to head that way. And sooner or later we found it. And there it was, Oh, yeah. I used to be pretty good at that kind of stuff, just kind of fumbling around just based off of a sense of where something was. I can't do it now.
Nope. Yeah. I could never do it.
I got into a screaming argument with somebody at work on Friday because I didn't realize 2 roads were connected.
That'd have been an easy thing to look up, though, bud.
Not once I have momentum built up. It's not.
That's fair. You get married to your point.
Yep.
And can't see your way out of it.
Can't let it go.
No, I get it. My wife gets annoyed at that with me all the time.
Yep.
And then later, I have to come back and be like, "Yeah, you were right. I'm sorry."
But you gotta let some time in between, Spock points out that Stamets has traveled the network hundreds of times and would know how to travel between the 2 points without assistance. Perhaps Stamets simply does not have faith in his own abilities.
That point from the whole season, bringing it back. Faith.
Yep. Faith. Stamets suggests that whatever issue Spock had with Burnham, she risked her life to bring him to Discovery, and that she loved him. Spock points out that he saw Dr. Culber moving out. God, Spock wanted to go right for it on that one. Good Lord. Yeah. Dr. Culber moving out of their quarters, and that Stamets was upset at this. Stamets confirms, saying that Culber needed distance. Spock submits that Stamets' assessment is inverted. That Culber needed distance, not because he no longer had feelings for Stamets, but because he no longer knew how to feel about himself.
Well, that's probably right. Yeah. Agreed.
In the ready room, Burnham briefs Pike, Saru, and Cornwell in Section 31 headquarters. Detmer is to keep the ship close enough to the base, if at all possible, while Aram would beam over to the data center once the landing party has it secured, and then restore Cornwell's access to control. So they know that control's there. I don't think they have a full idea of what it is yet.
No, well, they know what it is, but they don't know what it has become, I think.
Pike wishes them luck and just kind of sends them on their way. Burnham, Non, and Aram beamed onto the station, hovering for a moment above the deck before their gravity boots kick in. Phasers in hand, they move ahead. Burnham reporting back to Discovery that the artificial gravity was out, and there were no life signs.
I did like the Starfleet logo on their gravitational boots.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
They've done some cool micro branding, I guess is what you'd call it. Like, if you know to look for it, it's there, but if not, you don't really think about it. But even like the Fluvog boots they use on Strange New Worlds, they are very design heavy, and then there's little deltas on the soles of the shoe and a little delta on the side of the boot as well.
Yeah. I really like these ones because the logo lit up when the boots were like quote unquote on, I guess.
Yeah. The design wise, besides the darkness of every shot, Discovery has a really strong design sense.
Again,
it's hard to see sometimes, but it's got a really clear vision and style,
Yeah, and I think that's what most people complained about, like the difference between the Discovery and the Enterprise is almost night and day, because it's quite obvious that the Discovery is way more advanced, even at this point in the show, than the Enterprise was. Yeah, I mean, some of that you could chalk up as, well, this is the new, bright and better thing. And maybe that's the case. I mean, I haven't been on any of our new aircraft carriers yet. Hopefully I get a chance to do that soon, but it could be, now that I'm sitting here talking myself out of my point. I mean, it could be that just the Discovery is bright, new, shiny. And then after this whole situation, that design was never used again, because of the issues, quote unquote, issues that it had.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just talking out my rear here.
Hey,
maybe I am.
Could be, but at least you're willing to talk through the point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Burnham asks Non if she knows how to restore life support, and Non reluctantly lets Airiam out of her sight and goes to see if she can restore life support. They see more blood and signs of a struggle, but no idea of who or what or why. As they enter the next corridor, they discover a body and then look up to see 3 more. Examining one body, Airiam's biometric scans show they had died at least 2 weeks earlier.
Oof.
Okay, so now this is the group of admirals they spoke to a little while back. And Pike, catching this, because there's a live feed going back to the Enterprise or the Discovery, Pike asks, well, if she was dead, then who have we been talking to? Saru believes that he has an answer. As all living beings had a heat signature, he should have seen a change in Admiral Patar's when her authority was challenged, but did not, because the Admiral Patar they had spoken with was a hologram.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. Where is Columbo when you need him? Control had created the forgery and they created the holographic Patar after it killed the real one and her cohorts. Pike realizes they were up against the system itself. Cornwell wonders if Control was against them and trying to block them from contacting Starfleet, why would it allow the landing party aboard the station? Now see guys, this is the real question here. You got caught with your pants down by a computer and you're not even sure how it happened yet. Pike speculates that perhaps it wanted something from them, till he speaks up saying that it wanted something from Airiam.
Or it wanted Airiam herself.
Yeah. Reviewing the data activity, Tilly realizes that Airiam transferred her entire memory archive into Discovery's computers. None of it was inside her head anymore, which leads Pike to wonder what she downloaded in its place. Back on the Section 31 headquarters, Burnham hears doors banging together and draws her phaser, and looks relieved when she sees Non forcing her way through the door. It appears that the admirals were trying to restore life support when at least one of them was cut in half by that same door. Just then, they both receive a comm from Pike, who asks what Airiam is doing. Burnham replies that she's uploading Admiral Cornwell's access control, and Pike's like, no, she's not. And you need to stop her right now. As they approach Airiam reaches out and tears out Non's rebreather. So, now we know why she was asking about that. Non begins to choke on the air. He gets knocked across the room, leaving Burnham to face the Airiam alone. Pike is ordering Airiam to stand down. Burnham's trying to figure out what's going on, and Airiam is just like raining blows down on her, basically from her skinny little girl arms. You got to keep in mind she's cybernetic. The size of the actress doesn't matter here, but she does look very small in some of these shots. Driven to desperation, Burnham manages to gain the upper hand using Non's phaser rifle before finally pushing her into a nearby airlock. Checking back in with Discovery, Pike reveals that something is taking control of Airiam through her augmentation. Tilly discovered that the transmission of Section 31, supposedly from Tyler, were in fact from Airiam, and that she downloaded all of the Sphere's data on artificial intelligence collected over more than 100,000 years. As she tries to delete what Airiam uploaded into Control, the door to the data center shuts, while Airiam tries to manually override the airlock. Unable to find a technical solution, Tilly asks for a channel to be opened to Airiam. I believe it's Airiam and Non are both like trying to give Michael the idea to vent the airlock into space and just let Airiam get pulled out.
Yeah, but given how Burnham is, she's not going to do that right yet.
Nope, she only gives up on you if you're the captain.
Immediately, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Spock tries to reason with Burnham that it's either her or Airiam, and Airiam herself is saying the only way out of this is basically to blow her out into space. But Burnham's adamant that Airiam can be saved and tries to blast through the door to the data center. Non was able to regain part of a rebreather implant and triggers the airlock. Mm-hmm.
See, that's what happens when you give every kid a participation trophy. They think they can overcome everything all the time.
Yep. Aboard the Discovery, the crew stares into stunned silence. Burnham pounds on the door in anguish and then breaks down in tears. Outside, Airiam drifts away. Her last moment before her cybernetics shut off, She relives her favorite memory, the one that Tilly had transmitted her to her on the open channel, of her and her husband walking along the beach before the shuttle crash.
Yeah.
Not a bad episode, but it is one that loses me both times that I've watched it.
How so?
It's not even, it's just like other things start popping into my head. Like, gotta remember to do the dishes. It just, it doesn't hold me 100%. It's interesting. There's stuff going on, but it's kind of like not, I don't know. I think you could have done this in the process of another episode, like had other things going on and do this at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like we've come to that conclusion a couple times in the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
I think the last one, I pretty much said you could have summed this all up in 10 minutes in another episode. So maybe they should have squashed these two last episodes into one.
Well, you know what? Going through some notes today, season 2 was supposed to be 13 episodes. 2 executive producers were fired in the process of this season being made, and it was extended by 1 more episode.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know, and I kind of want to do some digging around because I came across some interesting little things that were referenced. Like, I don't know if it was one of the guys who was fired or what, but in season 1 of Discovery, one of the executive producers said that Discovery kind of exists in its own bubble, and what happens on the show is only going to be reflected on this show. It's not like we're going to see Spock or the Enterprise. Well, okay, but so I kind of want to do some digging around and check out some of these things that were said behind the scenes that led to or were part of, or what's going on with so many people being let go and directions. Because, Brian Fuller created this show and then left before anything happened with it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
He didn't get Me Too, did he?
No, I don't believe so. Brian Fuller is actually heading up a Friday the 13th TV series for Paramount Plus right now.
Well, I wouldn't say right now, but it is in talks. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything new about it in a long time, so I'm not sure.
Said he's got 3 seasons planned.
Well, sure. So do I.
Mm-hmm. But you're not Brian Fuller.
Yeah, granted, he's in a way better position to make them than I am. But yeah, as fans of this show know, I used to do a Friday 13 podcast a while ago. We ran for 2 years with me at the helm, and it's still going now, I think, albeit very boringly.
Well, very, very flatly at the very least, just kind of flat.
So after the last reboot, with Derek Mears as Jason, we kept getting told, something else is coming. Derek Mears has 2 movies on his contract. I did hear about the TV show. It's been a long time ago that I heard about it. Maybe this is something different.
This is something different because this is Victor Miller and Horror Inc. are involved in this, both of them.
Yeah, I know Victor Miller just got a recent, several years. But
yeah, he won that lawsuit like 6 years ago. Sean.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Like, he just recently won a lawsuit about that, and he does have at least some rights to Friday the 13th. I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing it for sure because I'm definitely a big fan of all things Jason.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brian Fuller, he did Hannibal. He's got a bunch of credits, but yeah, he was the guy who actually ramrodded this show right at the very beginning and then was gone. So
yeah, I mean, it could be that was by design because he was about to move on to other things, but
could be.
Who knows?
Yeah, but those were just some of the things I came across, and I think I'd kind of like to sit down and just start picking out some of the anomalies and things that have happened in the creation of the show. Yeah, it's just this episode, I think this and other things we have picked out could be the result of adding an episode to the season.
Oh, so you're saying stretching out the storyline for one more episode? I mean, maybe. Yeah, because this episode and the last episode definitely could have been smushed into one thing, and it wouldn't have felt so, I don't know, weird. Yeah.
No, again, neither one of us are TV writers, and this show is allowed to run an episode as long as it wants. So if they feel like they need an hour and 10, it gets an hour and 10. If they need 38, it gets 38. We don't understand the realities of what they're shooting for with each episode or what their mandates are. But as fans, we certainly feel a certain way about the length of episodes.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to address real quick is I got a comment on YouTube today that I lost the guy's name, but he said he felt like he was barging into two friends' conversation. So the way our YouTube videos is set up, first you get the full episode, and then it's released segment by segment. Now, usually the segments are okay to stand alone, but they are not properly introduced necessarily. You're going to have to kind of pick up as you go. But
yeah, I'm the one who sets the segments, and I usually name them in a theme. Mm-hmm. You get 100,000 cool points if you can give me the themes to all my episodes. Some of them are obvious, but some of them are not really.
No, some of them are
only they're only obvious to me.
Yeah, some of them are pretty like what's the right word? Like
pretty on the nose.
Yeah. But so anyhow, if you're listening to us on YouTube and you come across like a shorter video and that's the feeling you get, it's kind of by design, but it's also kind of poorly introduced by us. But what it comes down to is people don't necessarily want to watch an hour long or listen to an hour long podcast when they're on YouTube. I think average view time on YouTube, 6 minutes.
Yeah. 6 to 10 minutes. I think it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty short.
Yeah. So we definitely try to keep our segments to that. And again, I'm the one who delineates the segments. Our YouTube guy just kind of takes what I put in the show notes and makes videos based off that. So if you're going to be pissed off at somebody for any of that, be mad at me. He just goes by what I do.
Well, I just kind of wanted to explain it because I did answer the guy on YouTube, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, and I'm sure this will now be its own weird segment on YouTube, but okay.
But no, I mean, that's kind of the point of a podcast though, isn't it? Like, especially one like this, like we're not necessarily talking to you, the listener, necessarily. I mean, sometimes we do, obviously, but generally it's just, it's me and Jeremy going through episodes and talking about them as if we would be, sitting at the kitchen table drinking some beers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. And it's obviously, we'd love it if you guys would chime in wherever you check us out at, if, Twitter, if it's still around in a week or two, or however you like.
Speaking of that real quick,
yeah.
I was taken in by that video where I thought Elon was firing people on Joe Rogan's podcast. It got me hook, line, and sinker, but it was not. There was an amalgamation of a couple different episodes, but it got me.
Yeah. Well, it's this morning, my old broadcast partner, Bobby Blaze, tweeted something at me, and my response to him was, I hope answering this doesn't cost me $8.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay for your blue check mark, $8 a month.
Yep. I'll be right on that, guys. Where do I send my check?
Just as soon as we set up a Patreon, and the lowest tier is $8 a month.
Yeah, that's the blue check. You know what? If you subscribe for $8, we will send you a plaque of a blue check.
Sure will. It'll all be fancy and stuff. My wife's got a Cricut in over here. Like, we can do it up nice.
Yeah. It'll be really cool. But it's actually what I've been working on this week though is our Talos 4 journals. So we may actually have some merch coming up, but yeah.
Oh yeah. And it looks very nice. I'm going to get a copy because I like nice notebooks, and that's a nice looking notebook you made there, bud. Appreciate it.
Well, and you would especially be interested in my Blue Time Traveler's journal when it's ready. I'll show you.
I'll
show you the cover.
That's what I use something similar for my notes at work. It's the TARDIS notebook.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the one that River Song keeps. At least it's modeled after that.
Yep, that's mine's kind of designed to look the same way.
Yeah.
All right, so now that Commander Dog is back to being a little antsy pants over here, let's go ahead and wrap up. Chris, did you have any final thoughts or anything about this week's episode?
No, I mean, nothing above and beyond what we already said. Like, I agree with you. It was a good episode. This was actually one of the first ones in a couple episodes where the entire thing kind of moved the overall arc forward. But like you, I feel like they could have stuck a lot of this stuff in another episode, which again, actually the last episode would have been a perfect combination for what we were talking about. But other than that, man, I liked it. It was good.
Oh no, I was, like I said, it loses me a little bit just because it feels like it goes on more than it has to. They could have dropped all the clues to Arium being turned and then just sprung it on you all at one time. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like have her character do more for a couple episodes and then spring it, at the end. That's the way Babylon 5 would have done it, All right, Chris, where are we headed next week?
Oh, next week the action begins in a stormy barracks. Burnham and an optimistic musician arrange to meet. Unfortunately, he is under sentence of death for murdering a monstrous army. After everything, they wonder what they could have been thinking.
Oh, man, that sounds like a good one right there.
So, musician, potential genocide. What's not to love about it?
Yeah, that's got everything. That's got everything in it.
We here at Strange New Trek don't agree with any kind of genocide, so just put that disclaimer out there.
Yes, all genocide is bad genocide.
It sure is.
Except there's a lady wrestler named Genocide. She's pretty good, actually, but we'll get into that some other time. All right. Well, if you have any questions, comments, or theories you want to run by us, head up our website at strangenewtrekshow.com or follow the links in the show notes for the episode in your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review / like and subscribe to us wherever you listen to us. It's one small step for you, but a giant leap for this show. And special thanks to Miguel Esparza for the Strange New Trek theme, and to Will Harding for putting together the YouTube page and department for us. So thank you for listening. Don't forget to set your phasers to stun, and join us next time when we're on to the next planet of the week. That was my mom calling.
Of course it was.
Between the damn dog and that.